Welcome to our day 1 prenatal yoga class. Please join me on your mat. Our props will not be needed until the very end for Shavasana, just depending on what trimester you're in will dictate how many props are needed or if any props are needed. Of course, please honor your body, move nice and slow, especially in the first trimester. If you're feeling nauseated, please take breaks. You can always put me on pause and come back when you're feeling better. But when you're ready, let's get started on hands and knees. So come on up onto your tabletop. From here, go ahead and draw your big toes together, knees splaying apart, depending on how large your belly might be these days, depends on how wide you may want your knees. Don't feel forced to come all the way down, and know that, again, your props are available. So feel free to maybe even just come to elbows and forearms. You can stack fists, creating a little bit more space for your belly. If you're still quite early, feel free to come all the way down. Just finding a little point of connection, ideally for the forehead. So whether that's resting on the floor, your fist, your block, a pillow. This just allows us to sort of create a space for our thoughts to land, and allows us to have a moment to arrive, to center ourselves and start to connect to our body. Feel your breath starting to deepen and begin to set that connection to your belly and that little being. Feel your breath as it maybe wraps around your baby, creating a little bit more space with each inhale. And then that nice little snuggly hug as we exhale. Just a couple more big full rounds of breath here. Good, and then when you're ready, begin to slowly start to raise your forehead, press into the floor and the earth, and start to lift your hips. It's all good if you have little cracks in those knees. And then come to your tabletop here. Beautiful. Moving through our cat and cow. Of course, just be mindful of the belly area, especially if this is something new for you. So it might be a movement you're used to doing quite often, but really try and experience it for the first time. So as we inhale, start to lift the sitting bones. Let the belly start to hang a little bit here. Let your shoulders roll back and your gaze lift. Try not to come to your full extreme. We don't want to overstretch our belly. But as we exhale, think about hugging and pulling the baby in and up as you start to press the hands, rounding through the pelvis and arching that upper back. Again, as we inhale, start to let the movement lift from the tailbone all the way to the gaze. Again, not overstretching, being mindful as we exhale, start to pull and hug the baby in, wrapping it around with love and support. Again, let's go 3 more each direction, going as fast or as slow as your body guides you. And again, depending on where you are, how far along in your pregnancy, dictate how fast, how slow, how much effort, how many breaks. It's all good. This is your journey, so please honor. And on your next inhale, start to find your way into tabletop, that neutral space. So we want to think about pulling that baby in, hugging it towards the spine. Knees stacked underneath the hips, hands underneath the shoulders. Beautiful. Begin to tuck your toes under. Start to press into the hands, floating the knees. We're going to come into a downward facing dog. So if you're working with nausea, just stay here in tabletop. You can keep the knees lifted if that feels good, or lower at any time. If it feels okay to lift a little bit higher, start to draw the bum back towards the heels. Lift the hips. And keep a generous bend in the legs to begin. So pressing our hands into the floor, start to draw the belly towards the thighs. You can make more space, walking the feet a little bit wider. The more we sort of take the back of the legs out of the equation by keeping that deeper bend, the more opening we're going to find through that low back. So for those of us that are experiencing some tenderness, we want to invite a little bit more length here. Good. And feel free to pedal out the heels, stretch into the backs of the calves. Everything might be feeling a little tight, so feel free to move as fast or as slow. Good, and then when you're ready, again, settle those heels. Maybe start to open the backs of the legs a little bit deeper, but try and create more space through the front of the chest. Good, again, still holding baby, pulling in. Beautiful, and then once you're complete, start to draw the weight forward, let it shift towards the hands, start to walk the feet in, and we're gonna come towards a forward fold, again, feet wide. So maybe they come a little bit towards the outer shoulders, maybe they're a little bit wider to the edges of our mat, or even onto the floor. Good, this can be a place where you have blocks. You can also let your arms dangle. You can find the floor with your fingertips, whatever feels best in your body. So feel your feet. Try and spread the toes nice and wide. Again, keep that softness in the knees. Let the upper torso hang heavy. Good. With our legs a little bit wide, we've got that extra little bit of space. Take a big breath in. And a full breath out. Good. One more big full breath here. Good. Awesome. Again, drawing belly in, baby towards the spine. Start to soften the bend in the knees, pressing into the feet. Start to round through the back body. Take your time. There's no rush. There's a lot of blood in our bodies here, and we're producing more and more. So take your time as you come up, and then let that blood start to settle. Good. Let your shoulders roll back. Let your head be nice and soft on top. Good. Maybe even close your eyes if it feels okay. Good. If you're feeling a little unsteady, if you're feeling any sort of nausea, maybe find a spot on the floor that's not quite moving. Just sort of focus here. Take a moment, take a breath. Good. Awesome. Beautiful. All right, wonderful. Once you're complete here, we're gonna go ahead and start to round our spine forward. So again, feet are nice and wide, knees are bent. We're gonna start to come all the way over, maybe walk your hands, make space for the belly. And as we come down, start to draw the hands back behind us. Go ahead and interlace your fingers, roll the shoulders back. Good. Maybe stay here with hands at the sacrum, elbows squeezing in. Or if it feels okay, lengthen through the arms, lifting the knuckles towards the sky. But be sure to let the back of the neck be long. Good. Big breath in. And full breath out. Good. 2 more breaths here. So maybe working towards your full expression. Beautiful. Before you release your interlaced fingers, just make a little note to yourself, whichever pinky you have on top. This is usually our habitual side. So we'll make note for the next time to have the opposite pinky forward. Once complete, start to bend into the elbows. Let the hands find the low back. Begin to release the arms. Let them float all the way forward. Good. And either find the floor or, if not available, find your blocks. We only need one block to start, so we're going to place it towards the center of our mat. From here, extend through the crown. Keep that belly drawing in, baby hugging in. Start to lift the chest, and we're going to place our right hand on the top of the block. From here, we're going to find a little bit of a twist, and I want you to think of your twist as happening from the ribs upwards. So hips are going to stay the same, especially with any sort of twisting in our abdominal region. We want to keep that at a minimum. So it's really just our upper sort of back and shoulders. But from here, with this right hand heavy, start to open the left arm out to the side and up overhead. Awesome. Your body is going to try and drop that right hip and lift the left hip, and that's okay. So feel free to do that if that feels okay, to keep it a little bit more of an open twist. Just try not to lock that right hip back. Big breath in and full breath out. One more. Good. From here, start to slowly lower the left hand down. Let it find the center of the block, and then inhale, right arm out to the side. And any sort of twisting is just through my upper back and shoulders. Again, this right upper hip might lift as you bend the left leg. That's perfectly okay. You can keep the leg straight, whatever feels best. 2 breaths. Good, and then once you're complete, slowly come on back down. Again, just be really mindful of any sort of blood pressure here. So let's go ahead and release our block. Hands might find shins or thighs. From here, deepen the bend in the knees and slowly start to round up. So maybe press into the thighs. Let that low back round, mid back, upper back. Pressing into the feet, coming all the way up. Good, and again, take that moment, let the blood settle. Let's go ahead and place our hands on our belly. Let your eyes softly close. And just imagine that as we're breathing here, we're sending lots of love and breath to our baby, just sort of wrapping it in safety and security. Good, notice if there's any sort of movement within. If you need to stay a little bit longer, please do so. Feel free to pause at any time. But when you're ready, start to open the eyes. Good. Awesome. Let's find some side body opening here. So again, feet are going to be a little bit wide throughout our practice, especially just making space for the movement in our hips and our abdominal area. So when you're ready, go ahead, draw your arms all the way up. Good. Let your right hand find your left wrist. Press into the feet. From here, let your hips start to lean to the left as you start to lean to the right. Good. Pressing into our feet. Again, hugging the baby, pulling in towards the spine. Come on back up through center. Good, and same side, hips to the left, lean to the right. Good, press the feet, squeeze in through the inner thighs, hug your baby, come all the way back up. Good, release the grip, release the shoulders, let the hands come down. Good, give a little wiggle, especially if any tensions were building. And then second side, right hand out to the side, left hand can follow. This time left wrist or left hand finds right wrist. Good. Press the feet. Inhale to lengthen. Good. As we exhale, hips to the right, lean to the left. One breath here. Good. And then again, press the feet, squeeze in, inhale, come on back up. Same side, exhale, hips to the right, lean to the left. Good. Press those feet, inhale, come all the way back up, hug the baby, and then release the arms, release the shoulders. Good, maybe give a circle or two, and then go ahead, draw the hands back behind us. So before we had our habitual clasp, so now we're gonna find our non-habitual. So the one that feels a little awkward, should feel like you're kind of holding somebody else's hand. From here, roll the shoulders back, squeeze the elbows towards each other, press the feet, lift through the heart, lift through the crown. Good, take a couple big rounds of breath here. There's gonna be lots of hunching and sort of rounding and collapsing through the front of the chest that will happen in the months to come. So we really wanna find that opening across the collarbones. One more. Good, beautiful. From here, start to lengthen the knuckles if it feels okay. Again, straightening the arms to the best of your ability, lifting them slightly away. Press the feet, lift up through the crown, and then start to lower right ear to the right shoulder. Come on back up through center, left ear, left shoulder. Good, just getting a little bit more movement and mobility through our cervical spine and our neck. Good, might even feel good to tuck the chin, lengthen through the back. Good, one more big breath. Beautiful, as we inhale, start to lift the forehead, lift the chin. Good, once you've come to the top, bend into the elbows, let the hands find the sacrum, and then go ahead and release those interlaced fingers. Let your hands come alongside the body, palms facing forward, fingers reaching towards the earth. Good. Feel that length through the arms and that length up through the crown of the head. One more big breath here. Good, and then just a couple rolls of our shoulders forward. Again, loosening up, finding a little bit of movement, and then go ahead and roll those shoulders back. Good. Finding this little bit of mobility and movement through the body, let's go ahead and find it into our hips. So from here, let again your feet be a little bit wide. Good. Hands can rest at your hips. Hands can simply rest alongside the body. I like to bend a little bit deeper here, so soften the knees. And then with our hips, we're gonna slide our hips to the right and then slide them to the left. Good. It's a simple movement, but we want to find that mobility and fluidity through our hips. Doesn't have to be large, it can be quite small, but the next time the hips come to the right, we're going to draw the bum back, so deepen the bend in the knees, let it come to the left, and then let it rotate forward. So just a couple circles in this direction. Good, and of course, if it feels really good, keep on going. Good, but the next time that your bum comes back, let's rotate in the opposite direction. Good, so counterclockwise circle. Good. All right, one more. As large or as small as feels good, and then come on back up. Good, find that little bit of movement. Awesome. All right, we're gonna start to find our way coming down. So from here, again, feet nice and wide, create that space for the body. When you're ready, maybe inhale your arms out to the side, up overhead. And as we exhale, again, soft knees, let the bum come back, let the heart draw forward. Come all the way, maybe find your blocks, maybe find your hands dangling or on the floor. but let the head release. So shake the head no, and shake the head yes. Good, and then once you're complete, bend into the knees so much so they might turn a little wide. That's all good. Let your hands find the floor. Maybe lean to one side as you start to step and walk your feet back. And then go ahead and come on down to tabletop. Good. So finding our way onto our hands and knees. We're going to find a nice little twist again through the upper back. So when you're ready, let your right hand come to the center of your mat. Similar movement to what we were doing in our forward fold. Inhale, left arm out to the side, up overhead. And as we exhale, draw the left arm underneath the right, lowering down onto that left shoulder, left ear, and maybe sliding this right hand so it's in front of your gaze towards the outer edge of your mat, and the elbow is up towards the sky. You can create as much space for the belly as needed, but try and keep the weight back. So think of your hips as drawing back towards your heels, so the weight is light through the cervical spine and through that left side of our neck and head. Let the back of this left hand maybe press into the floor in order to get a deeper stretch across the upper back. And take just a couple more big breaths here. Good, and once complete, pressing that right hand into the floor, start to lift the head, lift the shoulder, unfurl the twist, come back towards tabletop. Good. Second side here, so left hand comes to the center of your mat. Inhale, right arm out to the side, and as we exhale, draw this right arm underneath the left, lowering down onto that right shoulder, right ear, and again, maybe shifting that left hand so it's towards the outer edge of the mat and elbow is up towards the sky. Weight is back. Head is as light. And big full breaths here. Good, one more big breath. Pressing into the left palm, start to lift the forehead, lift the shoulder. Again, come out of the twist, come back to table. Toes together, knees apart. Gonna open a little bit more through the front of our chest, so walk your hands forward. Let them be nice and wide. Let the belly be a little bit heavy here, but hug the baby in as you start to sink the hips back and start to lower the chest. This can be a place where you can keep the forehead raised if it's available. Maybe let the forehead lower to the floor. Again, you can place a block underneath the forehead. But keep the posture active. So elbows and forearms lifted as we draw those hips back and sort of grip with our hands into the floor. 2 breaths. And then from here, letting the forehead lift, start to walk the hands back as you sink those hips a little closer towards the heels if you've got the space. And start to lower the forehead and lower the forearms, coming into a full child's pose here. So just as we started our class, now we're going to come to completion. Good, a gentle inversion here, so an opportunity for our heart to be a little bit higher than our head. Beautiful, and then when you're complete, pressing into the knees, again, hug the baby in, start to lift the forehead, lift the chest, push into the palms, Come all the way up into table, and we'll set ourselves up for Shavasana. So if you're in your first trimester, laying on your back is okay if that's most comfortable for you. Those of us in our second trimester, we're going to create a little bit of extra support for the body, and I'll show you for third trimester as well. So for second trimester, we're going to build a little reclining chair for ourselves. Our first block is in the higher setting in a horizontal position at the top of the mat, lower block in a vertical position, and our bolster on top. So just giving us a little bit of height. Blanky's always available if you want a little bit of extra cushion or support. You can also place it behind the head. But from here, start to slowly lower the spine onto the bolster. So we're kept in an inclined position here, shoulders rolling back, hands heavy. You can keep the legs as they are, or you can also extend them long. From here, I usually guide hands on the belly. Again, that opportunity to connect and feel the baby. Good, and of course, if being on your back is too much, coming into our third trimester, then feel free to start to build a nice, comfy, supportive position for laying down on our side. So I like to use my bolster as a pillow at the top of the mat. I have my blocks available for in between my knees. And with that growing baby, sometimes it's nice to have a little bit of support for the belly. So coming onto your left side, I like to use the pillow. I like to place a block in between my knees. And again, the lovely little blanket here to help support the belly, especially if it's hanging towards the floor. Wherever you are, please take this time to settle into a comfortable position. Again, maybe placing hands on the belly, connecting to your breath. And as needed, please stay as long as your body is guiding you. Take rest when offered. But when you're ready and you're complete, start to find your way up into seated. Take your time, especially transitioning off of the side, but coming up into a nice tall seat, stacking the heart over hips, arms heavy, head nice and soft on top. Go ahead and maybe rest your hands on your baby. Good, feeling that baby wrapped in love. Thank you for taking this time, not only for yourself, but for that lovely little heartbeat inside of you. But please join me back here on the mat. Let your hands come together at your heart center, palms can touch. Slight bow of our forehead. Thank you for taking this time to join me here on your mat. Take good care. Namaste.